Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into something really unexpected.
Yeah, it's this fascinating convergence, isn't it? Practical law meeting, well, ancient scripture.
Exactly. We're looking at Dr. George Gabla's article, which explores parallels between Ghana's criminal law on Inchoate Offences. That's Act 29.
Right, the 1960 Criminal Offences Act.
And the moral teachings of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, specifically Matthew 5.
It's quite a comparison.
It really is.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack this, see how things like intention, preparation, agreement, how they have consequences, whether you're looking at the law or, a spiritual perspective.
A lot to dig into there.
Okay, so let's start with the law. How does a legal system even deal with something that hasn't, fully happened? How do you hold someone accountable if the crime itself wasn't completed?
Well, that's the whole point of these inchoate offenses. What's really fascinating is that the law zeroes in on the intent.
The mindset.
Exactly, that criminal mindset, the mens rea, that's the basis for being culpable even at these early stages.
So before the final act.
Precisely. These are crimes committed, in preparation for another crime or with the intent to commit it, even if it doesn't actually pan out.
Like pre-crimes, almost.
Kind of, yeah. The law sees them as dangerous enough to step in.
Okay. So it's about stopping harm before it happens, not just reacting after. What kinds of these does Ghana's Act 29 actually cover?
Right. Act 29 outlines four main types. First, you've got attempt. That's Section 18.
Okay.
That's where someone starts the criminal act, but for whatever reason they don't finish it, they fail somehow.
They try, but don't succeed.
Exactly. Then there's preparation, Section 19. This is about getting things ready, arranging tools, taking actions to make a future crime easier.
Like buying a weapon, maybe?
Yeah, if you buy it with a clear intent to use it criminally, that's preparation.
Okay, makes sense.
Plus Abetment, Section 20. This is all about helping someone else commit a crime, instigating it, aiding them, supporting them.
So you're not the main person doing it, but you're involved.
You're an enabler, basically. Crucial, but secondary. And finally, there's conspiracy, Section 23.
Conspiracy. That's just agreeing to do something, right?
Pretty much. Two or more people agree to commit a crime. And the key thing here, the agreement itself is the crime. It doesn't matter if they actually go through with it or not.
Wow. Just the agreement.
Just the agreement. So across all four, attempt, preparation, abetment, conspiracy, the common thread is culpability before the main crime is done. It's all anchored in that criminal intent, the mens rea.
The thought, the plan.
The initial steps, they all carry legal weight.
It's just kind of amazing that a modern legal system and these ancient teachings, thousands of years apart, are both wrestling with intent like this.
It really is.
This is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Drawing that line between specific legal definitions and these, profound moral ideas.
Yeah, if you look at the bigger picture, both systems are trying to figure out the significance of what's happening in the mind, in the heart, before anything actually happens externally. And Jesus' teachings in Matthew 5, verses 21 to 48, they're a radical reframing of the traditional law of Moses.
How so?
Well, he pushes moral guilt beyond just the finished act. He says it extends to the intent, the desire behind it. Sin starts in the heart, he suggests, not just in what you do.
In your thoughts and desires.
Exactly. And that sounds remarkably similar to how these inchoate offenses work in law, doesn't it? Punishing not just the completed crime, but the intention, the planning, the first steps.
It's a striking parallel. So let's dig into those specific connections. Jesus talks about anger and murder.
Okay.
How does that link up with attempt in Act 29?
Right. Jesus says, "You have heard, you shall not murder, but I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment."
Strong words.
Very. And you can see it as a kind of spiritual equivalent to legal attempt. Just like the law finds you guilty of attempted murder even if no one dies.
Because you intended it, you tried.
Precisely. Jesus teaches that harboring that unjust anger, that internal state, makes you spiritually guilty of murder. It's like the seed of the act is already there.
So both systems agree. The evil intention itself has consequences.
Yeah, law and, you could say, grace, they converge on that understanding. The origin of the wrong is internal.
Okay, what about lust? Jesus connects that to adultery. How does that fit with preparation? That seems like a very direct link to that pre-crime idea.
Absolutely. He says, everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart.
In his heart. Again, the internal state.
Right. And that resonates so strongly with the legal idea of preparation. The lustful intent is like the moral version of gathering your tools, making your plans to commit adultery.
Like Act 29, punishing someone for having burglary tools with intent.
Exactly. And Jesus says, deal with the source of temptation drastically. Tear it out, cut it off, metaphorically, of course.
Get rid of the internal preparation.
Yeah. Both systems recognize the danger in that preliminary stage. You have to address the root cause, the desire, before it blooms into action.
Then there's divorce. Jesus links improper divorce to causing adultery. How does that connect to abetment, enabling someone else's crime?
Well, Jesus warns that if a man divorces his wife without proper cause, he essentially causes her to commit adultery if she remarries. And by doing so, he becomes morally implicated.
Ah, so he enables it.
Exactly. It mirrors abetment. He doesn't directly commit the adultery himself, but his action directly leads to it. Just like an abetter is punished for facilitating someone else's crime.
So it's about that chain of consequences.
Precisely. Jesus is highlighting that moral responsibility extends beyond your direct actions to the ripple effects you cause. The law sees that too, with secondary culpability.
Okay, and the last one, swearing oaths. Jesus speaks against false oaths. How does Dr. Gabla connect that to conspiracy? That link feels maybe less obvious.
You're right. It's not a perfect one-to-one match like, say, lust and preparation, but it's about the power of words and agreements.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Well, think about legal conspiracy. What is it, fundamentally? It's an agreement, usually spoken, to commit a crime. The words constitute the crime. No physical act is needed beyond the agreement itself.
The agreement is the offense.
Right. Now look at Jesus. He condemns swearing false oaths and pushes for absolute truthfulness. Let your yes be yes. What's he doing? He's elevating the power and consequence of your spoken word.
Saying your word should be enough, binding, true.
Exactly. Your word itself carries immense weight. So, just like the law puts weight on a verbal agreement to conspire, Jesus emphasizes that what is said, planned, or agreed upon carries huge moral and spiritual weight. Words matter deeply in both frameworks.
Interesting. So we've seen these parallels in the pre-crime stages: intent, preparation, agreement, enabling. But Jesus doesn't stop there, does he? His teachings seem to go way beyond just preventing bad acts.
Oh, absolutely. He moves into things like retaliation.
Right, the whole eye for an eye idea.
He completely dismantles that. He introduces this much higher ethic, non-retaliation, generosity, grace, even when you've been wronged.
How does that contrast with the criminal law, which obviously does deal with retaliation if it becomes, say, assault or conspiracy for revenge?
Well, the law definitely punishes attempts at personal vengeance, conspiracies to get even. It wants to prevent people taking justice into their own hands.
Maintain order.
Right. Jesus, on the other hand, calls for something deeper, actual restraint, forgiveness, mercy. But notice, both perspectives fundamentally agree that personal retribution, taking matters into your own hands unlawfully, is wrong.
One aims for order, the other for transformation.
A good way to put it.
And then the really challenging one, love for enemies. You certainly won't find that in Act 29. How could loving your enemies possibly relate to preventing these inchoate offenses?
Yeah, the law obviously can't legislate love. But think about it in a broader sense. What is the root of so many crimes, especially things like conspiracy or abetment?
Hatred, rivalry, bitterness, greed.
Exactly, all those negative motivations. Jesus' command to love enemies, if actually followed, tackles the problem at its absolute source. It dismantles the very seed of criminal intent.
Because if you genuinely feel compassion, even for an enemy,
you're simply incapable of forming the intent to harm them, to conspire against them, to prepare an attack. That motivation just isn't there.
So while the law can't demand love, love acts as the ultimate prevention.
And in a way, yes. It's the ethical framework that could theoretically make many of these laws unnecessary because the desire driving the crime would dissolve.
This really does raise a big question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How much can the law actually demand from people?
Versus what a higher moral code, like this one, might inspire in us. It's a fundamental tension.
So when we step back and look at all this, what does it mean for you listening to this, considering these, very different ways of looking at justice and accountability?
Well, the core truth seems to be affirmed by both sides. By Act 29, Matthew 5, what happens before the act matters? A lot.
Intention, preparation, agreement, they all count.
They carry real consequences, whether you're in a courtroom or thinking about spiritual reality. The law punishes those early steps towards crime.
While Jesus calls for change much deeper at the root of desire itself.
Yeah, it really brings us back to that question from Dr. Gabla's article, doesn't it? Are we dealing with sin and crime at their source?
Or are we only stepping in when it's already perhaps too late?
It suggests that maybe real change requires both legal frameworks and that deeper inner transformation when justice starts in the heart.
Then maybe both society and the individual soul are better protected.
It's a powerful idea.
Definitely leaves you with something to think about. If the real battle against crime, against wrongdoing, doesn't start in the courts, but actually starts, inside us, in our hearts, our intentions,
Yeah.
how might that completely change how we approach justice, forgiveness, even just personal responsibility in our everyday lives?
That's the question to mull over, isn't it? How do these two worlds meet